Hi, welcome to the Metal and Wood Shop. We're located in room 1211 at the Student Innovation Center. Here, we have some important safety protocols that we need to follow. We have a line here, and you have to have the proper PPE or personal protective equipment to cross this line. What we require in this shop is closed-toed shoes and closed-heeled shoes, long pants, and safety glasses. If you have long hair, it's a good idea to tie it back. Long sleeves, you should pull them up. Also, remove any loose or dangling jewelry such as watches, necklaces, and rings. And if you have strings on your sweatshirt, tie them or tuck them in. We ask that you scan in on our card readers and tell us why you're here. On our website, you can find a list of restricted materials, so as you're planning a project out, you know what you can and can't use. All of our tools in the shop have a designated safety level, and those levels correspond to the level of supervision that they need and the risk those tools provide. We also have everything locked, so when you come in, you need to talk to a shop supervisor and get the tool unlocked so that you can start your project. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Bowl turning opens up a lot of creative possibilities for lathe work. Bowl turning is more dangerous than spindle turning, but with some practice, bowl turning can be done safely and can be very rewarding. One way to secure your bowl blank to the lathe is by using what is known as a faceplate. This aluminum plate screws either directly or indirectly to your blank and then screws onto the spindle threads of the lathe. This is a very safe way to begin bowl turning. When bowl turning, the tool of choice is almost always the bowl gouge. In the 1211 shop, we have several different bowl gouges intended for different bowl shapes and sizes. Spindle roughing gouges cannot be used on bowls because the tang of the chisel is too delicate. Using a skew on a bowl is especially dangerous as there is an extremely high risk of catches and tool breakage. Most other tools are fine to use on bowls, but only for certain operations. If in doubt, ask a supervisor for help. Once the bowl blank is screwed to the faceplate and mounted onto the lathe, we must now check to see that the bowl spins freely. Now that we're ready to start turning, generally we're going to use the nose or shoulder of the gouge to hog off material. Both push and pull cuts are acceptable here. Once the corners and flats of the blank are gone, we can start shaping the bowl into the shape we're after. We'll generally need to move the tool rest a few times as the diameter shrinks. There is a lot to this process. It's intimidating at first, but the hands-on training will make it seem easy. Once the general shape of the bowl is complete, we are ready to turn the blank around so we can hollow it out. One way to do this is by turning a tenon into the bowl and then mounting it onto a chuck. A tenon is usually cut with a parting tool or square carbide scraper. Be sure to measure your tenon to ensure that you don't turn it too small. This is a forward jaw, self-centering wood turning chuck. This is a very useful device that is commonly used while turning. This is a chuck key. Chuck keys must not be left in the chuck while the chuck is on the lathe. If you are using a chuck key, your hand must remain on the chuck key while it's in use. This same rule applies to all keyed chucks in the 1211 shop. We are going to grab the bowl blank by the tenon that we just cut so we can hollow it out. Be sure to clamp down securely on the tenon, but not so hard that it causes damage to the tenon. Ensure that the shoulder is firmly mounted up against the chuck jaws. When we unmount and remount anything on a lathe, we almost always introduce some amount of runout. We need to get rid of this issue by returning the profile of the bowl. This generally only takes 3 or 4 careful passes, but results in a more pleasant turning experience as the lathe will vibrate less afterwards. Now we're ready to rough out the inside of the bowl. Move the tool rest over so that it's perpendicular to the ways of the lathe. Start by taking a facing cut with our bowl gouge, moving from center line towards the edge of the bowl. Now we're ready to take our first hollowing cuts. Now, moving towards center line, I like to make my cuts in broad sweeping motions with the handle of my bowl gouge. As we work our way towards the edge of the bowl, the possibility of a catch increases. I oftentimes grab a scraper for my last few passes, both to avoid a catch and to get a nice, consistent surface finish. After we're done with all of our cutting, we're ready to sand. It's okay to sand with the lathe powered on in the 1211 shop. Just be sure to lower the spindle speed, both to avoid injury and to avoid heat splits. Do not wear gloves while sanding.